Right. Morning, guys. Sorry, the freaking sun's shining on the freaking phone, but anyway, I got a message from late last night just before I left to come home that all the stuff for the Dodge has been finished sandblasted, all the fenders and stuff. So just gonna head and get that stuff sorted. Righty. So like I was saying earlier, when I was in the car, and I ended up with a phone call. The panels are ready for the Dodge. They've been all sandblasted. Finally, done the chassis for me first, and then when he got the opportunity, did the rest of it. So I've got that all here. Turn the camera on. So I've got that all here, ready to have a decent look at. I've got to etch it, but unfortunately, the phone call that I got was the place to say that we got the compressor from, to say that they'd organised a job card to drop it off to get it looked at. So that's the way. So I can't etch that stuff. I could carry on with this duty, but I'm not going to. In the meantime, I'm going to finish cleaning up. Well, I'm going to give these pieces a rinse. I've been sitting here soaking for a few days, so I'm going to give these a rinse off. And I'm going to throw all that stuff back together and at least hopefully get that on its wheels. So I've been to town, dropped that off, come back. It's now just after 11. Once I picked that stuff up and then dropped that off here and grabbed that, threw it in the car, and had to shoot home and grab my wallet because I left my wallet at home. And then went into town, dropped that off and come back. So yeah, it's now just after 11. So we'll get that stuff all out, or spread it out, get it sorted. I might give it a quick coat of etch and whatever, just rattle can, and then I'll put it together, and we might just give it a wee wisp of black later on. A lot of it's going to have to be replaced, but I'll just flick a little bit of rattle can black on it. Once I've sort of got it all bolted together, just mist a little bit on, and then we can bolt it up. Hopefully today, or even early in the morning, but even if I have all the springs and everything all on the bits and pieces all sitting in places ready to go, sort of type thing, by the end of the day I'll be kind of happy. I'd like to get it together, but if I didn't lose the time taking that away, I probably would have had it done, but we'll see how we get on. Right, so I thought I had all that stuff in there all cleaned up, but I was missing 2 dog bones and a few other bits and pieces. And I was like hunting through all the bits and pieces over there, and I was like, where the heck is that stuff? But it was actually hiding in the battery tray, one of those old bottles. So I was just throwing that in the parts wash to soak. So when we come back after lunch, I'll let that soak over lunch and we'll give it a clean up. He's going to have to actually go through and replace a lot of stuff that's all pretty hammered. That'll do to put it together and to get them by, to trail it to a car show or something like that for the next while. I'll have to go through and just check all the nuts, make sure the threads half decent in them. I'll soon find a few spring washers because there's quite a few are broken and snapped in half. There's quite a few others in the other pottle. But you look at the state of these. Some of these are actually not bad nick. Like some of them will be fine. You better just use them. Like, even that one, it's pretty borderline. Well, it's okay, but it's not really good. That one's fine. These are all fine. That one's absolutely fucked. And that one's pretty buggered too. But you know what I mean. And these dog bones, they're absolutely flogged. Some of them. Some of them don't actually, like that one there, that's pretty hammered too. They don't look that bad, but you can see they're ovaled. So they've had a pretty hard time. So yeah, I do not believe this thing has only done 24,000 miles. I'm pretty sure it's got a 1 in front of it. Just by the wear. The springs tell it. This sort of stuff tells it. It's kind of hard to say. Just because it's, next year it's 100 years old, so, we're now 2023, so But yeah, we'll get the last of these bolts and bits and pieces cleaned up after lunch, so they can grab. Actually, I might go through that in the parts wash. That might have been another thing. I was picking through stuff. But yeah, it'll do to hold it together. And obviously, when he decide he wants to put it on the road, well, he can, or he can bring it back here. Or I can do some stuff or whatever, you know. But yeah, it needs new springs, needs all those shackles replaced. You know, you get away with a few pins, you know, or keep them as spears. You know, just get a full new set and keep the good ones for spears, just in case you know, for some weird reason, you know, you wear one out or something like that. But it'll do to hold it together. But yeah, so I just wire buff these and whatever, because I can't sandblast, because I've got no ear. But it's not going to matter. It's not going to matter really. We'll just give them I think when we bolt them together, I was going to etch them, but I don't think I'll bother, because they're all junk. And I will just put it together, and we'll just give it a quick wee spritz of black over the top, just to make it look tidy, you know what I mean? I don't think it's worth much more than doing that. You know, we clean the grease and the crap off. You know, 90% of it, we'll throw a little bit of grease around them. You know, what powder? We can change the grease nipples over. You know, we might just powder. If I had some here, I'd blow the greases out and make sure they were clear. But yeah, if he's not going to go far on it, it won't hurt, you know, and then he can put all fresh stuff in and grease nipples and grease it to his heart's content. He's going to have to replace the springs. You know, the bush is going to have to be replaced. You know, he's going to have to replace that steering link at some time. You know, if we get a chance, we'll do the wheel bearing from if the budget allows. It's not critical. It is, but it's not. You know, really, you could probably strip it down and just clean it out and pack it full of grease and put it back together, you know, and that will do him in the meantime. If he decides he's going to put it in the road, you know, then put some new wheel bearings in it. You know, you're going to have to strip the diff and fix the leaks. Once it gets going, it'll piss frickin' all everywhere. So it's only, you're going to do what you can do, but we'll get it back together, and then yeah, then we can work on this other stuff and lay these panels out and start on them and get the body flipped up the other way and start on that, you know, do the last bits and pieces around it. Anyway, I'm going to have some lunch. I was going to wait till about 1 o'clock, but I'm going to have to wait on those other stuff to soak, so I could start putting some stuff together, but I'm not quite sure what's what. I need to sort it all out. I know that's obviously diff, and I got all the front U-bolts for the front end in there too, because I'd forgot I'd left them in the sandblast. I was going to sandblast them, the cabinet, but yeah, I forgot about them. So yeah, we'll attack this after lunch. It's going to be a scorcher. Whew, I'm sweating already. Alrighty, I've got most of the stuff sorted now. I haven't checked to make sure I've got all the nuts, but I've got all the dog bones. Got all these U-bolts. These ones are absolutely hammered. I run the started running a dyno over them. Absolute junk. A couple of them are alright. So he's going to have to find some replacements at some point. You know, some of them will be okay, but God, they're pretty hammered. Like this one here is. I didn't run a dyno over to try and improve them, but not much saving that. That'll help hold it together in the meantime until maybe we find something better, or he finds something better, and I can throw it on or whatever. But it'll do to hold it together for a start off. And surely I can maybe get a couple of nuts to hold on that. So I've moved the sawhorses back and forward. So I've got the spring hangers exposed, front and back. So I'm now going to just quickly check photos just to work out the orientation of the springs. I can't remember. I'll work with the front ones first, and they've got these extra brakes on them, which isn't really doing much, but it's not much point fixing it because the springs are junk anyway, pretty much. So I'll just work out which way around they go on, and then we'll put the front axle together. I'll throw a wheel on each side, put the spring on, and then we wheel it underneath the front and get that done. And then I'll also do the same. I'll have to turn the axle up over the way, but we'll put it wheel on each side, and then we can sort of pick it up and roll it and move it around and get it in the right place. And then we can wiggle shit around to get it up in here. If I have to, I might have to hold it up at the back or something like that too. Righty, so I don't have any clear photos, so videos onto YouTube. Right, by the looks of it, these are all the same part number. So I'm pretty sure these were in the front. I don't remember this being on the rear at all. And there's 2 of these with that, and then 2 without. So I'm guessing these are the front, because these are the worst worn ones. These are the ones that are really flogged, which were on the back. These don't look too bad. They're not that great, you know what I mean, but not too bad. Well, they're not as bad. None of them are very good. And the double retainer goes to the back of the front spring, so, and then we'll have to work out the rear ones. It should have looked, but it won't be too hard to work out. It won't be too difficult to work out. I may have to, worst comes to worst, I'll have to turn them around. If diff happens to be too far back or too far forward, we'll just turn it around. It'll work out one way or the other. So that's cool. But yeah, I'll have a quick measure. I think it'll probably be the long to the front, I would think. I'll have a bit more of a look on some videos. I haven't looked too hard at the back ones yet. I was just concentrating on the fronts. So we're going to try and get this front end on. So we'll do that. Right, got those lined up around the right way. They're just on there loose. Got them there. I'm about to lift the front axle down and sit on there so I can throw some wheels on. And I've been looking at the springs for the rear. Now, they are different lengths from where they are. Not by much, but about 1 inch and a bit. But I'm just looking at this bushing, it's really good. And this one is really chopped out. And this one's really good and this one's chopped out. So I'm pretty sure the good ones are at the front and the ones that were all mangled up with the other pieces are at the back. So this end to the back, the slightly longer end to the back. I actually thought it might have been the other way around. I thought it might have been a slightly longer side to the front. But no, it looks like the other way around. So definitely had the good bushes in the front. They weren't so chewed up when I pulled it apart. I definitely remember that going, oh, the fronts aren't very bad, but the backs are shot. So yeah, these are the backs. So that's cool. Got that sorted. Yeah, I might have to do something with this one. I can't even get anything even to hold. They're absolutely trashed. Unless I can maybe, I don't know, maybe I can see whether I can get a metric nut or thread on there. I'll try that. I don't know, maybe instead of 1/2 inch, maybe 12 mil or something. I'll see. I'll have a look through here, see if I've got maybe a 12 mil die. I don't know if I do. I think it only goes to 10. Let's see, what's that one? That's 12. I might see if I can, because that's junk. Because I know 12 mils a little bit smaller than half. I might see if we can wind that on there, and we can just get a couple of 12 mil nuts and wind on there, just until maybe they can get another one. Everything else, there's a couple here that aren't very good either, but at least they wind on there and they'll hold to at least get this to the next stage, if you know what I mean. But that's absolutely hopeless. I can't do anything with it. But maybe that 12 mil. What is it? 12 by 175. No, 12 by 1.5. Yeah, that can be better. 1.5 doesn't matter. I'll see what I've got in the way of nuts that'll fit. And yeah, we'll try and one with them on. And at least then, you know, I'm not having to try and, because it's either that or, because these look like a cast to me. So I'm looking, well, I probably could have weld a couple of new bits of bolt in there and sort of be done with it, but probably wouldn't go past a safety inspection here, not without a lot of hiding, if you know what I mean. And I'd rather not do that anyway. Be better if we can get some new ones. When you get some other hardware, you know, you'll probably replace them all, because they're all pretty hard out, pretty worn and pretty chafed and rubbed, and you know, you'd keep a couple of the better ones for a spare and throw underneath the seat sort of type thing. If you ever one happen to break on the off chance or something like that, where you got a spare, you know, and throw a couple of nuts in there or whatever, the spare nuts and stuff in there. But yeah, we'll make something work. So yeah, we'll do that now, because I can't. Well, I can, but yeah, we need that to help hold the front axle on. So I'll do that in a minute, and then we should be able to get that front axle on. Right, morning guys. So welcome back. So I got that back in there yesterday, or late yesterday. At the front end back in there. I forgot to grab 2 frickin' 12 mil nuts this morning to see if they fit that U-bolt that I re-threaded, because I tried to put a 1/2 inch tap on it, die nut, sorry, frickin' tap die nut, and to clean it up, but the threads are basically gone, so I went down to a 12 mil metric, and that actually left a thread. It's still not great, but it might be just enough to hold it together, because obviously a lot of that hardware in the front is junk. It needs new springs, it needs all new shackles. Some of the pins you'd get away with, but a lot of it's pretty worn and flogged. It's only ever going to be good for trailing around and tootling around a paddock. You know, you can't put it back on the road the way it is with all that suspension stuff. But he just wants to try it around and tootle around on it in the meantime, and he might put it back on the road in a few years time, like I said a million times now. So yeah, we'll just put it together how it is. Hopefully those nuts hold, and we'll go from there. Worst comes to worst, I'll repair them or whatever, but we'll get the fifth underneath the back and carry on. Right, let's see if we can get this diff under here. Quite sure how I'm going to get on here, but we'll work something else. Right, so I got that all tightened up except for the 2 nuts I've got to get, and then obviously I've got to get some other washers. Well, I've got to get a couple more nuts and maybe some washers and whatever. To be honest, I don't know whether it's really worth it or not. I've still got another nut for that. Spring hanger and these, but the rest of it, I don't, to be honest, I don't know if it's worth chasing bits and pieces for just junk that's worn out. Like even, I don't know, like you can see how wallowed out these holes are just from it all being worn. So yeah, I'm assuming these are the original front U-bolts, but yeah, I was going to spritz them up and paint them, but I don't know if I will even bother, to be honest, because everything needs replaced. I can see why this is worn here, like that drag link. This is how worn out everything's been. So this here is obviously meant to be on the steering box. Well, this is that worn, that wore this off on this suspension. Because this was flopping around so much. And obviously these were so worn, that's what's worn that. So, like you reckon it only done 20,000, 25,000 miles. No way. It's, yeah, I don't know. It's just all these really heavy, worn signs that it's more than that, you know. 20,000 miles isn't a lot. Like, I know the roads were way rougher back then and all those sorts of things, but like that darn farm work too, had the back of the body chopped off, and most of that's the original suspension underneath it. Like, it was re-arced, but the springs weren't born. You know, we got bushes. He had bushes made for the pins. All the pins are the originals. You know, they've got a touch of wear in them in spots. You know, like there's a couple of ones that are good on here. You can see got a little bit of wear on them, but you know, with the new bushes and everything, like, they're pretty good. But these are just hammered. You know, and there's lots of things that are hammered on it. So it points to it's done more than what it says it's done, you know. Whether it's had a broken speedo cable at some point, or, you know, and they've eventually replaced the speedo cable, and then it only, well, who knows, it could have done 50, 60, 70, I think it's 124. I really do. You know, because I only got, you know, 100,000 mile speedo. But yeah, I don't know. It just seems to be really hammered compared with what it should be, if you know what I mean. But that's all cool. It's one of those things. But so that's together now. At least I can, you know, move on with the next step, which is have a look at this stuff. Just trying to decide what I'm going to do now, because I am kind of lacking in panel steel. I have to have a nosy. I've really got scraps left of the 1.6, 1 mil. Pretty sure it's the 1 mil. I've only got scraps of that left. I need to go get a sheet. So I might have a wee look here and just see what I can start with. Even though it's raining, I might just push that out now. It's not going to hurt it now. Give myself a little bit of room over there. Well, I think I'm going to have to remake that valance, because that one's hammered. This here I can repair, because it's not worn out in here. This one's absolutely shot. It's a pain in the ass. Yeah, I think that's a remake. So I need you know, these are a freaking quarter of a sheet. Yeah, I don't know. I think all the hood stuff is all pretty good. Yeah, it's all pretty good. I don't need to do any major repairs. It'll be a little bit of panel beating and stuff like that. There's no rot, which is good. This wasn't even on it, so maybe start with this. Maybe, I don't know. It's not that bad, but it needs some repairs. Needs some repairs. Sit that there, but yeah. It's kind of where I'm going next. I think. I could, to be honest, I could probably jump back on this until I get some sheet metal. I'm just trying to decide what I do next. Apart from going and get a few bolts and odds and ends, this is pretty much together in the meantime. Like I've got to hook these up and whatever. That went to there, and that one goes to there, or vice versa. 1.5 dozen there, I can't remember. I'll have to look on photos, videos. But yeah, but this is going to have to come back out again anyway, because we have to put the motor and box in. So I'll have to drop this back out, undo the bolts and drop it back out. But at least it's mobile, it's movable, because I can't put that in like that. Pain in the ass, but it is what it is. So yeah. But anyway, I'll work out what I'm going to do next, and whether I jump back on that or start and have a look at some stuff on here. Right, so what I decided to do, I don't know if I'm going to throw this back on the chassis just yet, but what I might do when I get an extra set of hands here in about an hour or so, lift this dolly out, and then I might cut these uprights off. I might just screw a couple of bits of timber to it, and then just sit the body back down on it so it's back down on the ground. It's going to be a bit low. I might stack it up a little with some timber. I'll just put a couple of Tech screws in it just to lift it up a little bit with some timber, and just sit it back underneath the body, and just wheel it around that, so I can obviously get in here and clean all this shit up and treat it and whatever, and grind up all the welds from the inside, from earlier on, and obviously come through here and just clean it all up, and then do a bit of panel beating. I might leave this on until we get the body back on the chassis permanently, maybe. But we can come along and we can fix a bit of stuff, We'll fix a few dents and clean up a few welds and get some of this shit off that I struggled to get off earlier on. So yeah, we've got a little bit of rust in here to repair. It's not too bad. A few pinholes. It's a little bit worse here, so we might have to just put a wee patch in here. Just cut a wee half moon, put that on there. Come along and put these back on there. Do a little bit of finishing up work in here. Might just have to cut and clean up a little bit of this holy stuff that you couldn't see from the other side and here without cutting all that away. So we'll do a little bit of just tidying up work in here. At least with this out of the road I can get in and kneel down or whatever. So we can do a little bit of clean up finishing work, treat it with some rust convert, and give it a good while oil obviously first. The outside of the body will give a bloody good DA and clean up and whatever, so we can at least get that etched. So we'll probably do that when we do these other panels. That's kind of why I sort of thought, yeah, there's not much point sort of starting this other stuff. We'll get the body cleaned up, and then we can actually get it on the chassis permanently within reason. I'm hoping that we might just better slip it back on the body, right back on the chassis or something, until we get the motor box. Hopefully we'll get the motor box cleaned up next week and get it back in, and then we'll better put the body on, chassis on properly. If it leaks fucking all, it leaks fucking all. There's not much I can do about it. Like I said, if you can lead a horse to water, but you can't make it drink. And if he hasn't got the money to throw another 10 grand at it or whatever to go through and try and fix some of this other stuff, well, you know, he can do it later. It's his problem, not mine after that. So we've got a few pinholes down there I can see. They're going to clean up those welds. Yeah, just give it a general good clean up. Treat it all. We'll get some, I'll spray some texture coat in here too. And then around and underneath this stuff once you get it all cleaned up. Got to replace this wood. Because I kind of have to do that. Or actually, we might unscrew that. And I'll give it to him. He can make these pieces as a joiner. He can make these pieces and bring them back to me, and then I'll put them back in and we'll put the seat in. Save me screwing with it. Because that's only a bit of wood in the body. Yeah, so you know, a few cracks to weld up. I'll hammer a few dents and bits and pieces out of here. Like these cracks here to weld up and all that sort of stuff. And bloody good clean up and obviously knock all the welds off that I've put on and make sure it's pretty. Then we can etch it and then we can start doing bodywork. Till cutting this stuff off and giving it a dress up. But we can do a lot out of the bodywork around it too. But yeah, and it will probably actually get some plastic and put over the body, over the chassis like we did with that. Just, I have got some here, but it's pretty hammered. Actually, no, that's bubble wrap. I have got some here. We'll have a look. It's pretty hammered. You'd be better off just to buy another couple of $4 frickin' plastic sheets. Or whatever they cost. Might be more than $4, but it's not much more than that. Might be 8. For a couple, 3 together. So yeah, that we can throw over the chassis when we've got the body on, and then we can just slip them out later on. I can make sure my holes line up, just in case. But yeah, we should be good. So yeah, I was going to try and lift it out by myself, but I can't get that to come up by myself. It's too awkward. Righty, so I've actually got it sitting on the dolly up the other way. Seems to be holding. So I got a decent hunk of wood now. I've just dropped a couple of long coach bolts through it. But there, put just a piece of angle on it if I need to. I've got a piece of old square stock that I'll just tack onto it, stop it from pulling forward if it happens to do that. I'm not too stressed as long as it doesn't collapse all of a sudden, but yeah, that'll give us half a chance to work on this at a decent height. I was going to just sit it down, but I thought, oh, if I can get it out higher, at least it's going to be a bit nicer to work on. It's at a good height now, half by decent height to get in here and clean her up and do that. So yeah, I think that's probably what I'll do. Righty guys, so welcome back again. Oh, don't flicker, phone, don't flicker. Man, stupid fucking phones. Anyway, so I'm in the midst, I'm just waiting on a couple of phone calls back about the compressor. Hopefully I can go pick that up. And then while I'm in town, I need to pick up another sheet of 1 mil, which is 19 gauge, I think it is. That's what this seems to be. That's what I had here beforehand, and I've still got a bit of scrap, but it's obviously not enough to make this piece. We've got a few other repairs to do on this thing. And then also I'm going to make a couple of phone calls to the owner, so that he can pop in this week and start cleaning up that bits and pieces. And as long as I know which day he's turning up, as long as that suits him, I can organise the motor to sit on that wheel frame out here, because I think those tanks are, I would say 3/4 full each. So there's a shitload of water there, as long as we're not using it for for 10 hours, we'll be fine. Because we haven't had a lot of rain lately, but they were sort of, I don't know, about half full, but we had a couple of good downpours in the last couple of days, so it's topped them up fairly well. But I was looking at this one. This one here is pretty good. It needs some repair, but it's salvageable. This one here is shot, to be honest. If it wasn't so rotten through here, well, this and here and down here, it's pretty buggy. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to try and salvage this piece out of it, so I don't have to make it, and I can weld it back into the new piece. And it's actually more right around here. Like, it's a little bit thin in a couple of these spots, but I'll work around it. You know, it's pretty hammered up through here, but you're going to have to replace a few bits with here, here, you know, whatever. And we might cut this piece out of it too, so I don't have to make that bubble. It'll be just as easy to weld that in as what it is to make it, if you know what I mean. But it's this radius that we need to get in here that runs up around here. So I need to make a form that we can hammer that into and over to help me make that shape. Ideally, if I had the right dies for the bead roller, that would be a perfect thing to run through. You know, you can mark out your line, wheel it through and be done with it. You know, like a couple, 2 or 3 passes sort of type thing to make this shape and then flat. Then you can always put this in the folder and pick it up where you need to, if you know what I mean. But yeah, I'm really gonna have to make this one. It's pretty, I could patch it, I could put some long patches in. I could patch it, but I think it would be, it's almost just as much work as to patch it as to what it is to make it. And I can save a few of these pieces to put into it. So unfortunately, it's just, you know, cutting bits and pieces out everywhere. If it was just a few smaller patches, you know, we'd probably just patch it. Now, if it was just this piece down the end, you know, you'd put a patch in it and tie the rest of it up, if you know what I mean. But it's pretty handy all the way through. Doesn't actually look that bad this side, if you know what I mean. But yeah, it's pretty rotten. It's pretty rotten. It's kind of savable, but not. Yeah, I'd like to be able to get this profile. I think we can. It's a wee bit of work. So yeah, I'm just trying to decide what I'm doing and work out. I think one sheet will be plenty in the meantime. All the other stuff is just smaller bits. It'll be decent sections, but it's smaller pieces, you know, so I'm not having to cut whatever length that is off. We'll quickly measure that, just see how long it is. Yeah, it's just under 2 meters long. So yeah, this one's repairable. This one's kinda, but I think it would be just as much work to repair it as it would be to remake, because you got to fill all these bloody holes along here. Yeah, I think it's just as easy to cut these pieces out and weld it in. And same with that bump, weld that in where it needs to be. That's nice and solid. And just make the rest. So you have to make that brace if you want to. I could probably salvage it, but I actually cut that one off and reuse it as a pack, because it will pull the marks up good. So yeah, but so you have to make that one at least, and then Maybe a few other patches in those pieces. So yeah, we need at least a full sheet. And yeah, to make that and then to patch the rest. Some of it we better get out of that piece of scrap and first we have to cut out a new bit. But hopefully I'll get a couple of phone calls shortly and then we might better really do a bit more hammer and dolling on this back end in a few spots just to get that a bit more further. And then hopefully we might be able to do a run into town to get some sheet metal and get the compressor back. So yeah, I think that's the plan anyway. Right, so this is the other piece I was working on Friday. Now I've got this out a lot. I actually had to cut this to get it to actually allow this to pop out a little bit. I managed to get this straightened out quite a bit. It was actually punched in quite a bit, and it's still punched in a bit. As you can look down and see, it's not terribly. Where are we? It was a little bit short, but it's not too bad. Just a little bit of pressure off. It's still in a little bit, but it's kind of here. You can sort of see it's in there. It's kind of hard to show you. Fucking holding one hand. Hold on. I'll put you on the tripod. Right, hopefully you can see here. Follow that line. You can sort of see there's quite a bit of gap there still. About in here. So holding that flat on here and holding this flat on here. In quite a bit. And then obviously down here it's not too bad. They're actually not too full here yet. I don't really know. Because I have punched some of this out because this door I think was hit in. And I think that was a bit the same. It's had a bit of punishment. So it's not too bad here. Might have to work it out a little bit more, but we're getting close. But that was actually punched in a bit too. We're just trying to get it to a reasonable point. It's like most things, you know, body filler's a good thing, but as long as it's not stupidly thick, you know what I mean? I was actually watching Carl Fisher last night from Japan Kustoms, and he was doing those panels for the back of that Zephyr. Like, that's getting pretty, what he was doing, you know, is getting to a pretty elite level. I'm not quite there yet. I'd love to make panels like that, and I'm going to work towards that. I'm very new to the English wheel, but I understand the basic principles of it, and I know how to get it to make a panel. It's definitely not going to be perfect, but that's one of those things you can just progress at. And watch those guys and just listen to what they're saying and the little tips and tricks, and it just feeds that information. He's good to watch because he's very good to explain things, but this needs to come out more. I could put body fill on here now and it would be fine. It's not horrendously thick, but the less you have, the better the result you're going to have, and the less likely you are to have you know, body filler breaking or cracking or splitting with the twist of the body or whatever. You know, you've got to be careful you don't end up with it too thick, obviously. There's actually there's like a line in here in this piece. I actually think it's meant to be there. Just have a wee look at that other side. I just noticed that. Yeah, it's got a little step here in that panel, in that corner where it comes around to the edge. That's cool. It's like a little indent curve in there. That actually might need to be punched more, so that either welded up. That's cracked there. I could do a little bit of straightening in this piece. I actually bent this inner edge up so I could get into here to help punch this back out through here. But yeah, we're close. No, it needs a little bit of massaging. I think I've got it too want to stretch it a bit much here, but we can work that back. We can do a couple of heat shrinks if I have to. But again, this is one of these jobs, I can't screw around with it too much. If I can get it fairly good, and then scrape it out with the body with a bit of body filler and knock it back and block it out reasonably quickly. I don't have a lot of money to spend on this job, but I want to do as nice as job as I possibly can. But I've got to be careful. Like, you could spend hours and hours and hours and hours and hours and hours chasing little bits. But if I can get this a little bit better, I will. It's awkward because I've got brackets and shit in the road, which is part of the reason why this is still in. I've actually got the spring pocket, not the spring pocket, the door hinge pockets in here, where it drops into the where the pin drops in. So that's kind of in the road a little bit. But if I can just get a wee bit more out of here, I think we'll be okay. And the rest we'll just have to mud up once we've, you know, welded it. Good stuff. Righty, so we're making some progress here. I'd like to get into where that frickin', you can see that hinge pocket piece here. I'd like to get in behind that better, but I just can't without removing it. I don't really want to remove it. But I think, you know, for all the body filler that's going to be in there, and we might work it out a little bit more later on. It's reasonably flat. There's going to be a little bit of body filler in. You can see the high spots, you can see the lows. That's why I just quickly went over with a bit of Marko. Actually, a couple of little low spots out here too. For what reason, I don't know. But it's been played with quite a bit before. You can actually see, I didn't actually notice until just before. These here have been cut off at some point and re-welded on. And same with this one here, the brackets here, but this one here has never been off. So yeah, like it's been played with before, way before me, and I think way before the family ever got it. So that kind of indicates to me that it's done more than the 24,000 that they think it's done, or almost 25,000 that they think it's done. I'm bloody convinced it's 125 or somewhere in that figure, just by the wear. But anyway, we're in reasonable shape here. I wouldn't mind doing a little bit more, as I said, but it's kind of awkward to get into. If I had that's one thing I'd actually like, is a stud puller. You know, I could weld a few studs on there and give it a pull out. Like, I have done it other ways before. You know, I may actually make up something before I get to the end of this job and come around and just hit more a few more of these. I've done it before. I've actually used just bright head nails and just welded them on, just with a MIG. Just give them a couple of little zaps to hold them on, and then just get on with a pair of vice grips and pair of vice grips, and make a little, actually, you know, I made a little hook thing to hook on the end of the nail, and then just slid something on it, and pulled a few bits and pieces out. If you go back to my Dodge Phoenix videos, it was pretty roughly done back then. But sometimes it's, you know, we can't all afford to go out and buy a stud welder, you know, when we want one. Sometimes you just got to improvise. So I've done that sort of thing before, you know, half a dozen studs or more along here and maybe a couple down here. You know, you'd pull a bit more of this out, you know, you probably lay them in around here and pull it out, and then come back along with the hammer and dolly and just knock any of the high spots down and be done with it. You know, you'd end up with still a little bit of body filler in there, but you'd end up with less. But yeah, we'll come back to that if I make one up, because I might need it in some other spots yet. But I'm pretty happy with rough where we are with this, so we might jump around the other side. When I get the ear back, when I come around and grind all these welds off with the Rolex, it's something else I want to buy, is one of those little finger belt sanders. So actually talking to the guys that done all the sandblasting for me the other day. They said, you need to get yourself one of those. They must have bought 3 a wee while ago, and getting the purple 3M belts for them. I'd actually like to try these guys' belts, but for some of those. But yeah, they said, you know, they could just basically run over weld, because the belt's only that's wide, so you just run over the weld, knock the weld down with that, basically touching the steel. So it's been quite a game changer for them. But they don't use Rolex either, so you know, it's one of those things. I quite like the Rolex, but I wouldn't mind one of those air-driven belt sanders. And you get a few packets of those belts and try them out. It's one of those things, you know. But be quite handy for in some of these shitty spots like here. You can just run the edge of the belt over the end of it, you know, just on the end. You can just run the very curve in it, but because the belt's moving, you're not wearing it off funny. But you can grind all those welds down basically flat, especially if you're using a MIG. Even a TIG would be awesome too, but you know, I don't have a TIG welder. Something down the line, you know, start playing with a TIG and whatever. But we'll jump that side. We'll do some hammering dialing. There's some similar sort of stuff to deal with over there. We'll at least get this reasonably straight, because this was punched in quite a bit. I wouldn't say it was in. It might have been in 1/4 inch through here, whereas now it's maybe a 1/16, if that. You know, and that's with a couple of studs, like I'm talking on here. And that's probably something similar, if not a little bit more here. It might be an 1/8 of an inch in here still. If we get some studs there at some point or something, do something like that, we might be able to pull it out a little bit further. Because I just can't get in behind it easily. I could remove that piece and knock all the, what do you want to call it, the rivets out of here. But then I'd have to try and find the rivets to make it look right, otherwise I'm grinding them all off and welding them all up, if you know what I mean. So I'd like to just leave them alone, those ones. Yeah, we'll go around the other side and we'll carry on around there. I haven't heard from the guys with the compressor yet, so hopefully.
even if it's this afternoon, it'll be alright. Yeah, I'd like to get in there today, get that and get some panel steel if I can. Righty, I did manage to get those two bloody screws out of that. That's what I was trying to get out before. I managed to just sharpen the drill and just managed to drill them out. Still in a tiny little bit. I don't know if I can show you with this ruler. Just a little bit of clearance there. It's not too bad. Like I said, maybe later on if we come up with a some sort of stud puller situation, we might better just pull a couple of these extra little slightly deeper bits, but a wee smear body filler's not going to hurt a horrendous amount, if you know what I mean. It's pretty good. I might do a little bit more hammer and dolling across this because it looks like it's out a little bit here, and I want to knock this back too. It's where it's had one of those things to hold the hood on. It's been pulled a little bit there. If you're just looking, because these holes are in here. I don't know why these holes are down here. Doesn't quite make sense to me. I might weld some of these ones up. That's weird though, because it looks factory. Just unusual that they're down here and not here. You know what I mean? Or they were actually in the wood up here, I think. Don't know. Unusual. But, because this wood's just out on with bolts, so. But anyway, yeah, I'll hammer and dolly that a little bit too, but you know, we'll carry on and a few more of these dents knocked out as we go. Just get the worst of what we can see, if you know what I mean. And then when we start into actually repairing some of the little bits of rust, and get our ear back, we can DA and clean all of this up. Probably went out with one of those Scotch-Brite wheels just to get the shit off, and obviously we have to wipe down with some wax and grease and clean up and all in here, whatever. Get this all treated and stuff, you know, fix this bit of rot and whatever. But we'll carry on, and then, yeah, hopefully we'll get a phone call shortly. Righty, so I hadn't heard anything until after lunch from the guys with the compressor, just to give you a wee update on that. They apparently replaced the part where the trip out fuse pieces, but they didn't fix it, so they're waiting on some other parts apparently. I don't know. We'll find out, I guess, hopefully maybe tomorrow, you know, if they can get some parts, depending where they come from, I guess. If they can get the parts today or tomorrow or something like that, hopefully they'll suss it out. They must be, I think they got a part off the place where I got it from, like the repair shop where I got it from. So I don't know whether they borrowed a piece off something or off another one or whatever, I don't know. But anyway, so I'm so low on gas that I really can't do any more welding. I need my ear so I can do some cleanup. And I really need panel steel to do any patches, apart from maybe a couple of little ones, but then I need gas again for welding. So I'll get a few bolts and bits and pieces in this thing I need to button up, so I think I'm just going to muck around and do that for a while. And then go from there, I guess. I might run, see if I can work out where to run the wiring through for the headlights. And a few just bits and pieces like that, just suss out a few things now. I've sort of got the front end together on the old Studi, and kind of go from there. I think I might bolt the engine down, a few things like that maybe. I keep meaning to go get the bolts for the front of that. Approximately, I need to write myself a little note to do that, to get the nuts for that in a few assorted washers, flat washers and spring washers. But yeah, so yeah, I think that's what I'll do here. I'll just put a few more odds and ends in this, bolt up a bit more hardware, bolt the engine down, see if I can get the engine bolted down properly, and a couple of odds and ends on this thing, and just get this a step further until I can get my compressor back and get a sheet of panel steel and get myself some more welding gas. So the next thing I'm actually going to do is I think I've got my mate's phone number over there for the gas bottle place. I'll give him a ring, order another bottle, and get that on the way. I was actually hoping at some point the owner was actually going to take that little bottle and get it filled up, but he never has. So I had it here if I needed it, and then we'll just swap the big bottle back on. So I always had that spare bottle, small spare bottle, and then if I swapped it in and out, as the big one was empty, that wouldn't be too much of a problem, and it would run out and just go fill it up again. When it's getting down near low, but yeah, I haven't quite got that sorted out yet. Anyway, I'll do that, and then yeah, I'll take this and I'll just come back to you and I'll just tell you what I've done later on. Nothing really exciting. Putting a few bolts, and I managed to hunt out some washers and guard washers and bits and pieces the other day. I found some, and so yeah, I can get a bit more of that buttoned up, get that motor bolted down and all that sort of stuff. So we'll do that for a while. Right, always a way though, isn't it? I was just going through the hardware to bolt up. I've got a few bolts, and but I really need a few more, and actually got a lack of spring washers.
I've only got about 5 spring washers left, and 516. And I need those bolts for that. And I also need really need some spring washers and some heavy washers and bits and pieces. I may as well grab a few more guard washers for this thing as well. Probably aim for this as well. Like when we put this back on, we'll use a few guard washers. So yeah, I really need to do. I got about 4 or 5. I could stop and put some more bolts in, which I might do before I go. But yeah, I really need to get some more hardware. I was actually watching what's his Vice Grip and Finnegan's Garage the other day, and those guys come in and put that freaking big bolt hardware freaking bin thing on a wall. Something like that would be just bloody awesome. Sometimes you just think, guys, it's the stopping and going to get stuff. It's not that far away, but it's, you haven't got it. It's a pain in the ass. So yeah, I need probably, I don't know. At the end of the day, it probably doesn't really matter if I go get another frickin' 2 dozen bolts and nuts and frickin' whatever, I mean, if I don't use them all, I don't use them all, it doesn't really matter. But I could just do with a few extras, because there's quite a lot of bolts hold these on. There's like, I think 5 in that curve where it goes around the valance anyway, on both. And I haven't got any of the guards on here behind the headlight brace that holds that front guard. I haven't got any bolts back behind that. Yeah, but I've got most ones in there, but I'm sort of the opposite way around in this one. I've only got a couple of bolts in there. I might have enough here, I don't know. I have got a few extra bolts, but yeah, I haven't got enough spring washers. That's my half important. And I need other stuff as well to try and make that a bit more secure, I guess. I need a castle nut. I'm only taking this for a sample for I need a heap of heavy washers, like the ones that are heavier than this. I want a whole heap of them. I don't know, 20, 30 of them. And I need a heap of these spring washers, and then this is bigger spring washers, so I need a heap of them as well. I haven't got many. I've got a few, but that's sort of in between. I'll just double check that before I leave, but I'm pretty sure the spring washers I've got are sort of in between that or bigger than that. And that, I had quite a reasonable mix of old bits and pieces, smalls and bigs and whatever, but I've used quite a lot. I'll clean a few up, and put them on here and just misted them black, fitting other stuff up just to try and keep me going here and there. But yeah, I need a few more. I do have all the hardware for this, but I'm contemplating just lifting the front of that engine and just slipping a few big washers in between, like with the 4 bolts that go along here. I wouldn't mind just getting, if they've got some heavy ones of those. I think they might be 516 too, I think. Yeah, they are. They're already in there. The bolt's already in the top. And I think even the nuts are, I think I screwed the nuts back on the bottom, but yeah, I wouldn't mind some heavier washers. Maybe just space that motor up 1/8 of an inch at the front, just so it's got a little bit more clearance around that. The hand crank goes in if we ever need it. If he ever needs it. It's kind of one of those things that's good in a shit position to get everything to line up. It just, for some reason, doesn't line up. But I don't really know how it was originally configured. It's not to say there's something missing, what I mean? That might have had a little space and plate underneath there or something. Don't know. But yeah, so I might just throw those extra couple of bolts in that I've got, and then just go get a heap more. So I've got them here. I'll use them on this, because some of the bolts that come out of here are fine, but a lot of them were studs too that were screwed into here, and some of them broke and whatever, and we've had to get some out, and they weren't very good, and all the rest of it, 100-year-old shit. It's like after, that's why I need some spring washers for that other stuff, because when I did half of it up, it all snapped and broke because it was all old and brittle. So, yeah. We will carry on and do some more, do some running around, I guess. I need a frickin' parts chaser.